thank you all for a lot of new knowledge. We have not so much time to discuss, a little bit. So we are not able to go into all the details. I tried to identify some keywords from what you have been speaking about. And Hilde, one of the keyword is collaboration. Now you heard the other speakers. How could we be better on collaboration? What could we do?
I think it's not simple, but it could be as simple as acknowledging that without the grid as a backbone, or with the grid as a backbone, everything else will be much more bankable, and the probability of success for everything else that goes into the green transition will go up when the grid is there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the nature of a grid is collaboration. You cannot have a grid, you cannot have exchange or balancing of the grid without having collaboration from the start of development towards operating this across sectors and across borders, whether it's within a nation or across nations. So I think the whole core of understanding that collaboration is what it takes, and a grid is what it takes. I think if we start there, we will be able to deliver on what Jarand is saying.
Yeah, Jarand, also to you, the question of the importance of collaboration, and you also showed your enormous project, which we can see around in the world. I guess they managed to collaborate very good to achieve this.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of borders in Europe, and the better you are coordinating across the nations, because it's different weather cycles, etc., the lower the total cost of the system will be. And that's the same in the Nordic countries, etc. Well, it might be a pain in a few situations, but overall, long term, more collaboration is better for all. But that said, I also have that second point, that we also will see more kind of microgrids popping up, and they also need to collaborate with others. Maybe you have heard about Verksbyen down in Fredrikstad. Then they have actually local storage, local solar panels. Outside Drammen, they will build a similar new city now that will be more self-supplied. So this is also a trend, that you don't need the grid, only the grid. You can also make more self-supplied units, you know, like we had the development we had with personal computers, you know, from mainstream computers in the 80s, and suddenly we were independent. That was a good development, but now we also see the benefit of having the cloud, etc. So we are going back to the grid in a way. So both of these things will happen in parallel, I think, these two development trends.
Fintan, you work both in Ireland and Northern Ireland. Now you are in UK. I think also collaboration has been an important issue for the work you're doing. Do you have any good lesson learned from the islands over there?
So I'd agree with what Hilde said. I mean, the bits maybe that I'd add to it is you need to have sort of that shared vision of what we want to achieve, because you have different countries, different governments, different regulators. So having that sort of shared vision and understanding would be one. And the other piece, just to stress, is the importance of having shared standards. If we're going to build out these grids, and they're probably going to be built out in a hybrid way, initially as sort of connecting the wind farms to individual countries. But if we're going to build them out and interconnect them, it'll be much, much easier if we have sort of shared standards for equipment, for planning, for security of supply. That will make it easier as we make that next step. So that would be the bit that I'd add to that.
And Sonya, you a part of the collaboration is also to work with the permitting, do something with the permitting process, which is really a big barrier for. You also mentioned it. Are you when the European Union now is going to say something at the end of November. Are you expecting they will also make that as a key point?
Yes, I am. Mainly in the terms of what we would call political leadership here, because we know all politics is local. We know that, my backyard, all that sort of stuff happens. But the importance of the transition for everyone and to bring everybody with us is really crucial. But also that where we can empower those leaders themselves to take that step forward in terms of bringing those projects on. Maybe that leadership in those specific projects that are the most difficult is helpful. Because you can see yourself with certain involvement of various political leaders in various areas. They will actually make a difference. So I think we need to ensure that we have the right, top-down sort of support towards projects that are in the most, find most challenge in this area. Yeah.
And another C word is coexistence, Hilde. That's also something that has to be taken maybe more seriously than we have done until now. What do you think about that?
I and we at Statnett, and I'm sure my colleagues here also think like this, it's not going to move without having sustainability at the core of what we're doing and thinking coexistence from way much earlier than we have before. And I think the whole dialogue around coexistence is immensely important because there is hard choices to be made, but we need to find solutions where we can put on the table a way of doing this that will give a little bit to everyone with respect to where we would like to go. And I truly believe that we can do much more on technology solutions where we make our choices. We can do much more in having a dialogue and listening to advices from people that will be affected by this, whether it's fisheries, whether it's reindeer in Norway, whether it's nature as such, area scarcity, to listen to people and experts and the people that are really, feeling the pain. We can choose other solutions that we have believed is the only way to do things. And to be open-minded on that, and to acknowledge that everyone has to pitch in and make difficult choices. I'm absolutely sure we can do it, but it's going to be crucial.
And Fintan, public acceptance is very important. And we see a polarized political environment across Europe, which make both good compromises and courageous decisions more challenging. And that's also been, you also felt that in the UK. It's not so easy.
No, it's not so easy. And I think one of the things we have to be really, really mindful of, as Hilde was saying, is bringing people with us on this. So there's a conversation happening in many European countries around how do we accelerate the delivery of this infrastructure, because this is a huge challenge. But that can't be at the expense of bringing people with us, because ultimately we'll fail. So we have to think of a way and do better at bringing people and communities in at the start of this and having a broader conversation. Because if you have a conversation with an individual or a community about whether the pylon goes in that field over there or that field over there, that's not the conversation they want to have. They want to have that conversation about what are the other technology solutions. So maybe I don't need a pylon at all. Maybe there are other answers. And I think we need to find a way that marries both getting that infrastructure delivered so we can get on with this energy transition, but in a way that does bring people and communities with us, because otherwise it just won't work.
Jarand.
Yes, well, I can have a slightly more independent voice here. I mean, it's very responsible people next to me. So I think you have to find the right balance.
Yeah.
and for example, in Finnmark, I think there are some excellent sites now for onshore wind that has very little kind of conflict if you really look into it. But I mean, the conflict is exaggerated, I think. If you really look into the details, I think that the larger society also need to take some decisions. And of course, there's always sacrifices, but I think the balance is good now for places like Digermulen or Dyvjar, to mention a few hot political topics. I think we just need to get it done and not be stalemated by all kind of conflicts. Of course, we need the proper dialogue, but at some point we also need to look at the greater good for the broader society. If not, we will not get the green shift if we are too afraid of everything.
Can I have one?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Come on, both of
Because
you.
there's one more stakeholder that we tend to forget, listening to Jarand especially maybe, and that is the young people. When I go into dialogue as a Statnett person with my surroundings, when you're listening to the young people, they are angry because we move too slow, we do too little, and we're not willing to find solutions across. And we have to remember, they are the ones inheriting this planet. I think that's a good point. They're a stakeholder too.
And I suppose the bit I build is we have to get away from a binary, let's just make solutions, and until there has to be some sharing of the benefits and some recognition that the communities and the people that host this infrastructure, it's very local and very personal to them, but the benefits are felt across the whole country. So mechanisms that provide some level of community benefit, whether that is reduced energy prices or investments in the community or something like that. It can't be just suck it up and put up with this infrastructure, because it is infrastructure that benefits the entire country. And indeed with transmission, quite often it goes through their jurisdiction and enables sort of industrial development 100 miles away. So finding a way to do community benefit is important.
And Sonya, your organization or your association, you're working with 35 different countries. The debate, is it very different in the different country, or is
Of
it
course.
similar challenges all over?
No, I think certainly in each country, as I said, even the parameters of their power systems and how they've evolved are very different, and the scale of investment that they've had. But I think the point is just that we always find the common vision or the common principles that we all work toward. And I think the energy transition is it. The way you get there can be, the routes can be can be different from each country. But within ENTSO-E, we have the debate about how we can move forward together and how we can try to, support each other, give expertise, coexist, co-collaborate. This is part of the way ENTSO-E works. And we have produced over the last 10, 20 years significant development on standardization, on harmonized rules. We brought that wide scope a bit closer, a bit more manageable. It's not perfect every day of the week, but it is much, much more manageable now from an energy transition perspective. And I do think that the common view, the common vision, the common standards are the way forward, both on rules, but also on now, even specifications for all these projects that will have to be built. But we can do so within a community. And I think that's the point. We're not in competition with each other. We're not competition to save the planet. We're all there to save the planet together. So that's the important point. Yeah.
Jarand, what is the consequences if we don't manage to deal with all these difficulties we are talking about here? Because this.
Of course, that's a slowdown of the green shift with the consequences that means. But also, technologies and innovation has to find its way also around the kind of slowness from governments also. So suddenly you get a new solution that you didn't think about. So I think what is actually accelerating the most now is very kind of residential-based developments. And the residential solar is taking off completely. And even in the United States, even the Republicans, I spoke to one yesterday, he was installing a combination of solar panels, batteries, and geothermal heating like I just showed you. And he was thrilled by the solution. He didn't. Well, he even had an electric car, even if that is very anti-Republican. So people tend to find solutions also around the slowness. But I must say that you mentioned this collaboration and standards, and we have been working with many countries in Europe. And for example, they cannot integrate the battery energy storage system because it has no definition in the legislation. And then they need to learn from other countries because it's so much. So now actually, technologies is going faster than the legislation and than the regulations. So the regulators, the bureaucrats, really have to speed up.
And I was happy to, I was lucky to be next to the Norwegian Minister for Climate when we were negotiating the Paris climate deal, and then we felt really strongly that the businesses, the industry, was really pushing the politician, to go even further. Is a little bit you have the same feeling that
Yes,
this is happening now, that
yes,
it's
I think
possible
that-
for the industry to also to push the political decisions to get faster?
Yeah, that is my main observation, is that actually corporations and technologies are going faster than politicians, actually. And also, at least in the COP last year down in Egypt, I felt that really the politicians were lagging. Let's see what will happen now in Dubai.
Let's see what's happening in Dubai. We will not speak about Dubai right now, because now it's time to have a break. Thank you very much. We will have a 15 minutes break. Warm applause to the panel. And